Hey everyone, welcome back to another amazing episode of Jujutsu Kaisen Watch Along Pod. This is episode 20, non-standard, and man, is this episode non-standard. This is superb. This is the top grade, special grade, whatever grade you want to call it. This is the best of the best that we have ever seen in Jujutsu Kaisen. Am I not right, DK?
Yeah, no, this episode and the last episode, I consider just one continuous story thread.
Right.
And it was by far the most enjoyable of season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen.
So good. And I didn't even properly introduce my co-host, DK, who also is the only person I've known who's been able to use Black Flash 10 times in a row.
And this is, of course, Kevin Ketcham, the Nerdy Jock, whose special technique is his Boogie Woogie.
Boogie Woogie, baby.
Yeah. This episode kicks ass. I mean, like the last two... Look, okay, so there's a thread going through. We have to front load this. We love this episode.
We love it. My favorite of all of them so far.
Without question. That I am going to complain about some stuff. I mean,
okay, that's fine. It's fair.
A couple of things, maybe some like fewer things than last time, but that does not at all mean that I didn't love or thoroughly enjoy this episode. This was great.
If you're going to rank this episode 1 to 10 scale, what would you give it?
I would give it a special grade is what I would give it.
I would give it 10 plus ultra.
I would give it a rating of 530,000.
Exactly.
Yeah,
also, Todo's self-given IQ from
his self-given IQ, which was a Dragon Ball Z Easter egg.
Was that a Dragon Ball Z Easter egg?
Yeah, because when Frieza first reveals his power level to Nail, when in his base form, he said, "My power level is 533,000." Or 530,000.
Yes. So
so
maybe it was a little Dragon Ball throw. We know Gege Ekitami, he does like tons of other animes and mangas as well. I'm sure Dragon Ball was a reference point.
He's referenced a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's referenced Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball. I mean, he did a deep reference. He referenced the Donpa.
Yeah.
It's like nobody, unless you like really, if you watch the Japanese version from the very beginning of Little Goku, or you played the video games a lot in like the early aughts or whatever, no one even knows what the Donpa is.
The Donpa is the old school one. That was used by, was it Tao Pai Pai?
Yeah, Tao Pai Pai. It was a crane school attack.
Yeah.
I think even Chaozu uses it.
Yeah.
He just never uses it in Z or any time when there, maybe it would have helped.
So we know he's a fan of DBZ, and that's a great little Easter egg. And thank you for letting us know about that. But man, what an episode.
Yeah. I love that this opens with this flashback of Todo too.
Yes.
Because he's doing a thing that we've complained about before where he's, kind of waxing poetic. He's talking about how when he was much younger, he beat up a kid who was much older than him and he was bored by it. And then just out of the blue, this like...
Well, he insulted him, right?
Yeah, he insulted him.
He insulted him. He said, that's the worst.
Yeah. So he's just sitting on this older kid who he beat up. And then all of a sudden... this chick who's kind of like Haruko from Fooly Cooly, I guess, because she's like on a moped or a motorcycle or something. She shows up, she's got a curse going around her.
She's your ultimate fan service kind of gal, right?
Yeah, I mean, and she is also, I think, his proto-woman.
Yeah, his prototype woman.
Yeah, because she's tall with a big ass and all that stuff, which he said earlier, that's my type of woman, which is this is the inception of that moment.
We get a great throwback, which I will give JJK great credit for. They will do throwback moments here when they talk, especially about this one. This is probably the most throwback moment they have in JJK, which is when she says...
Oh yeah, she says, "What kind of woman do you like?"
Yeah.
and that's or what kind of girls do you like, depending on the translation. And it's just, it's so funny. Like this is the beginning of this. It's like, oh, he was kind of like groomed, not in an inappropriate way, but like by a sorcerer of a higher degree from a very young age, which makes sense why he's a second year at high school and he's so damn strong.
Yeah, this is a Todo-centric episode. I mean, obviously Yuji, it's a bromance. You can't have a bromance with only one person. But with Todo and Yuji, this is definitely a Todo-centric episode. Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of really cool stuff here.
Yeah, which we'll dive right into.
Yeah, let's go.
So the fight with Hanami is still on.
Still on.
Todo is inner monologuing in a good way, in a way that we like, where he's saying all the, because he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he says, I have an IQ of 530,000, but then the screen says at the bottom that's
53.
Like, yeah. So he's like retarded actually.
He's a little special.
But he rates himself as a super genius, but he is kind of a super genius.
He's a genius, dude. He knows when it comes to fighting and tactics, he he knows what he's talking about.
This has my favorite technique reveal.
Yeah.
Because he's setting up this thing. He's like, okay, I haven't shown my special technique yet. I haven't shown it. And he's running, and you're like, oh, here it comes. But then his ankle gets grabbed, and he gets whipped. And Yuji's trying to save him, but Hanami's, giving Yuji some punches, some kicks and stuff like that. He's hurtling towards spikes.
And at first you think, but like, not to just like ruin your momentum here, but when he gets grabbed for the first time watching this episode, you're like, oh my God, this is a total, what an idiot Todo, what a dumbass. You talk big.
I legit thought he was going to die.
Yeah, I was like,
oh, what a moment right here where he just like dies because he overestimated his abilities. Because, I mean, literally, we were shown that he thinks he's a genius, but he's actually really stupid.
Yeah.
And then he's about to use his technique, and then when he gets grabbed, he's surprised. Or he's like, eh? And then just, boom, just whipped.
Yeah.
He's heading towards certain death.
Yuji's frantic.
Yeah, but then, then he claps, and Hanami gets thrown into the spikes because his secret technique, Boogie Woogie, is he can switch places with whatever he wants that has cursed energy in it.
Boogie Woogie, I love the technique. It's super cool. He claps and he can change with basically, like you said, anything cursed energy. So he changes with Hanami's position. So he does it with Yuji as well, but he does it with Hanami in this position, and Hanami's impaled heavily. I mean, if that hit Todo, that's game over. He's dead. For sure.
And what ensues is just the ass beating of ass beatings.
It is an epic fight. The animation is superb. 10 out of 10. I mean, it does not get better than this episode of animation.
It's glorious. They have managed to overwhelm Hanami, who's like, that split second of wondering where they're going to switch and when makes me indecisive, and I can't properly counter any of the moves. And then there's even a thing where like Hanami finally anticipates a switch, and not Hanami, but Todo claps and doesn't switch, Yuji gets off another black flash. It's amazing. It's great,
and it's also her race stakes as well, because Hanami knows that, like, hey, even though they're transferring forms here and there, Hanami's really kind of her hands are tied behind her back here because she doesn't want to hurt the Sukuna's vessel. As she states, she's like, if I kill Sukuna's vessel, then that's endgame for us.
Right. And there's more of sort of a thread that was being woven in the last episode too, where Yuji is just using Black Flash nonstop now. And even Todo's kind of hints like, that's pretty cool that he can do that. I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I could land it that much.
You can see the pride in Todo's face too, which is amazing. Up, he's like tearing up. He's like, oh, like, that's my best bro, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, this sequence, I was so hype about this. Yeah. I texted our mutual friend Matt.
Yeah, shout out to Matt,
who's way ahead. He's seen all the way through and stuff like that. And I messaged him. I'm like, dude, I just watched Yuji and Todo versus Hanami. What an amazing part! My favorite part of the show. And he messaged back, yeah, man, they gave Hanami the hands. And there's no better way to put it. They're just giving Hanami the hands here.
And it is such a cool scene because every moment, every line has there's a funny one-liner, a Todo Yuji moment, I got you, brother, just a really cool, really cheesy, but endearing kind of moment. Like nothing falls flat in this episode. Nothing doesn't stand out. None of the animation sequences is less than the best you could ever get.
They're not cramming world building into it too. They're like providing sprinkles where it's like Todo reveals, oh, it's not just people that I can switch with. It's anything with cursed energy I can. So there's like sprinkles, but so far we've been treated now for 3 episodes to a fight that is just moving like this. Like it's not jumping around. It's been like this steady train up where the stakes and consequences of things have just continued to increase.
And this is us hands up at the very top, just going down and enjoying the ride, right?
Right. Yeah, it's great. And then even too, Hanami's eventual, counter to this is like, okay, Hanami makes a tree of those bulbs that got Megumi earlier.
The little
while Todo is getting ready to like fight these things, it's like just this blast of bulbs is coming at him.
Blast. And like this is imminent doom, guys, okay?
Yeah.
I was worried. I was worried earlier that he was gonna get impaled. When they flashed to black, I thought he was gonna die. I'm glad he didn't. And then same thing again, right?
Yeah.
You see Todo is about to get attacked again.
You're like, oh, here we go. This is gonna be a problem.
Does he have any more tricks up his sleeve? And he does. And not only does he have one, he tells it, and they make the best out of this moment. This is why this episode is so great, because even this moment, not 1 second is wasted on this episode, right?
Right.
And then tells about what makes him, what is his motivation, Dan, that learns him to know how to control his energy to survive this attack.
Okay. I'm going to commit.
Set the stage.
I'm going to commit the sin of this podcast, and I'm going to again reference Evangelion for this.
There is never sin when referencing Evangelion. That is our number one. That's my number one of all time. So it is the literal Bible of anime.
And it's Akutami's too.
Yeah, and it's Akutami's. It's the best.
It's fair to reference it as many times as we want. But Evangelion, there are huge moments of revelation and growth that occur within the minds of characters on a train.
Right.
Or in various aspects of their lives. But the train, this liminal space with seemingly nothing outside, or the Hanna-Barbera just repeating terrain or whatever, is sort of like this moment where you're inside the soul of the character. And Todo has shown us before where he has a very complex inner world where he's living out this elaborate fantasy of going to a regular high school with his idol crush Takada-chan, and now with his brother Yuji, where he is able to resolve things in the world by diving into this sort of inner mind palace, I guess.
He can literally go to his mind and talk to his girl Takada to find out solutions to problems he's living in the now. Which is in my reasoning and logic, I was like, honestly, this is great. Because it's hilarious, but it's also fun, and it's not distracting. It actually adds to the character.
Right. And it's like, he loved Takada because of how encouraging and warm she is. But now every time he fantasizes about her, she's a little bit tsundere. She's confrontational. She doesn't like him. She's like, nope, I like somebody else, stupid.
Right.
Walks away. And in this one too, she's just like, come on, are you really about to use a curse technique? Why do you think Megumi got infected by this thing or whatever? And which leads him to figure out, oh, these things feed on curse energy.
Exactly.
But, he had all of this fantasy in the span of, it says, 0.01 seconds. And so then he just dispels his curse energy, and these bulbs bounce harmlessly off of him.
Yeah, what a great technique. What a great reversal of a near-death situation. And that's why this episode is so great. Because it is moment by moment, scene to scene. Everything is going to almost kill these guys, right? But there's a slight tweak that changes the situation and saves them. You're like, oh wow, what a relief. What happens next?
Which would be a problem because it has been a problem in the show before. But like I said in the last episode, it is Todo and Yuji's characters and the relationship that is holding all of this together.
That bromance survives the ages.
This really is just about the character.
Yes.
And the fact that Todo is doing all this dumb stuff in his head, and that's how he's solving these problems instantaneously. It's I don't care that it feels like maybe the objective stakes are lowered by that, because it's like Todo is just such a fun character. Yes. It's such a fun sandbox to be in his mind and see the world through his eyes that it's it just completely carries this whole thing.
Carries it. It's such a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And then he eventually too, because he can't use, I assume, he doesn't explicitly say, but he's impressed with Yuji's ability to Black Flash over and over again. He can't do it, so in order to deal damage, he has to swap Yuji with the Boogie Woogie with the Playful Cloud.
Right, and which is so amazing, because before we even hit the Playful Cloud, we get a great, let's talk, like I say every episode, I always give a round of applause to the animation. They do some great sequences here where it's Black Flash, cut, Black Flash, boom, Boogie Woogie, Black Flash. It's a really cool sequence, a really great building of momentum in this episode to where it never really lets up. There's no dull moments in this episode because of that. And we do need to mention that, I don't know if we didn't mention this earlier, but the flashback with Hanami that he did too. Did we mention that already?
I think we did, yeah.
Okay.
I think that was in the last one.
But now Yuji's up to 4, so he's already surpassing everything, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's great. This episode has just such great animation. There really isn't a lot to say. It's just something you got to experience. The character development, the animation, the way that the fight progresses, it's just nonstop fun. Yeah. It's the best that we've seen so far. This episode is peak.
Even Hanami's responses and analytical perspective on the fight and the situation that she's dealing with. I mean, she even gets excitement.
Hanami.
That's what I said. Did I say Hanami?
I think you said Hanami.
Okay, sorry. I mean, there's a lot of Hanamis in anime.
There's a lot of Jogo, Gojo, Hanami.
But Hanami's excitement, because this is the first time she's actually enjoying a fight, because she's Mother Earth. She just wants to protect Earth, get rid of the humans because they're destroying it all. But even Hanami's like, dude, I'm so amped up on this fight that I'm enjoying it. And I'm getting my ass kicked.
Yeah. and then now, I mean, just so that I'm not kissing this episode's ass the whole time, I will get to the thing that I will complain about now.
Okay.
In this episode, which is at one point Yuji lands a black flash that is able to sever Hanami's arm.
Right.
Hanami regrows the arm with a giant like flower bulb, and then at some point while fighting Todo, who has the Playful Cloud, the 3-section staff, Hanami busts out this move where, like Superman in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, is able to suck all of the energy out of the plants around to basically create a solar beam, Bulbasaur's solar beam from Pokemon, and is about to launch this attack. And it's like, oh God, what's going to happen? This is crazy. They are outclassed, but just like with every moment, similar to this with Megumi, where it's like we might actually have something that might add like way higher stakes to the thing, just doesn't do it because Gojo is able to shatter the veil. Yeah, it just takes all the steam away from the attack, and it's done.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dan, because it does suck, because like we were right there, we were going to see what happened, and then once again, you're right. Steam just got let out of the building. This train stopped quickly.
I wouldn't mind it, except for the fact that it's happened over and over and over again. Like Megumi has almost used a technique over and over and over again and has stopped at the last minute. And it's like, now this. It just keeps happening. And it's like, it would have been cool if something would have happened, if they would have almost died or something, and then Gojo shattered the veil. And then Hanami's like, oh crap, I can't fight Gojo. Like, now I need to retreat before I kill these guys or something.
But the good thing about this sequence, Dan, I get what you're saying, because I'm actually there with you. We want to see this, I'm sure in season 2, hopefully, Megumi's going to release whatever ultimate technique that he has that he's been holding up or saving, or they just haven't shown us yet. But I'm sure they're going to bring it out. But I'll tell you this, the next scene is fucking amazing.
It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. Well, first, it's like, we realized that this whole time, through this whole fight, that Gaku Ganji hasn't been doing anything. He's just been soloing on his Gibson Flying V the whole time. Juzo has a little bit of like, oh, I was wondering how he made all those sounds that on amp, and it turns out he is the amp. It's like, great, but what does this do? What does the technique do?
Yeah, they haven't fought each other at all. They've just been kind of standing there. He's been watching his solo performance.
Right.
Really weird.
So I guess he was just there to distract, but then Gojo comes down, and Gaku Ganji's like, no, don't kill him, as Gojo just blasts all of his limbs off in one hit. Arms and
legs gone.
Yeah, I mean, just completely blasts them apart. He's like, oh, and there was also one other little side where we have a new character who was introduced and thrown away immediately, which is this guy who is on Mahito's side, who has a sword with a hand that we assume Juzo made for him.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even looked his name up, to be honest. I don't know it. But I know he
we'll get to it.
We call him a human version of Mahito. That's our like closest reference point.
Yeah, he kind of
has the same energy, and he kind of looks a little bit like Mahito, but he's not.
His design reminds me of a character from Naruto. I think it was Deidara, the one who like makes explosives out of C4, who says my art is a bang all the time and stuff like that. We're scrolling through a character list to see if we can find this character. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
And then we'll find him eventually.
Shigemo, is that it? Haruta Shigemo. I think this has got to be him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's him. That's him. Shigemo.
Haruta Shigemo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first time we've even seen this guy. I think he just kind of pops up out of nowhere.
He's kind of thirsty. He's like he's just fighting the girls, and he's like, oh man, like I'm so popular with girls. But then the second that Gojo breaks the veil, because we show the veil breaking again, then he just runs away.
Yeah, he runs away.
So it's like, oh, okay, this was kind of pointless, whatever. And then Gojo is like, okay, well, there was somebody that they were all fighting, but now that person is gone, so that only leaves the special grade. He's like, they're too far away. I'm gonna have to get rough.
Yeah.
And then he makes a blue ball. He makes a red ball. He smashes them together, makes purple.
Hallow Purple is what he called the
final technique.
Part of that technique.
And he just launches it, and Hanami is about to escape. Yuji's about to dash in to stop the retreat.
And Todo's like, don't move a step forward. it's going to get you. And
You're
Todo,
going to get caught in
You're going to get caught. And he's like, what? And then another fucking epic, awesome action sequence happens. And Gojo does the Hallow Purple for the first time on the show.
Yeah, which is just this massive, like, Frieza death ball, but instead of going down, it just cuts across the terrain.
And it just destroys the Earth whatever Earth is in its path.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a cool way to end an episode.
Yeah, I mean, if Gojo ever dies, the person that kills Gojo is going to be like a huge jump in stakes for the show.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Gojo can just do anything, but it works.
Yeah.
Like he comes in, he doesn't really solve any problems. Like he kind of does, but not really. Like him coming in and using Hallow Purple doesn't take away from how awesome the fight was. If I could change one thing, I would just say I wish that the beam would have gotten off, maybe would have put either Todo or Yuji in a near-death state, and then Gojo maybe breaking the veil, making Hanami retreat. It's like, okay, now, we saw that if Gojo hadn't done that, they would have died.
Right.
And which wouldn't have been disappointing because we know how strong Gojo is. So it wouldn't have been a jump in his abilities or a jump in the stakes or anything like that. So,
but at least we know, like, hey, this is a new technique we haven't seen yet. We've already seen him do his domain, his infinity domain, which is super cool. And now we're seeing him use these ultimate techniques, Hallow Purple. So this is just further establishing how powerful Gojo is, which even the bad guys mentioned a few times in this episode, like, hey, don't go up against him. He's like, you will die.
Right.
Hanami actually mentions Gojo and says, oh, wow, I can't challenge Gojo.
I'm not dumb enough to fight Gojo. Yeah.
And if you're like, wow, if Hanami's having, amazing special grade and she's having trouble with Todo and Yuji when she's like, I'm not even going to touch Gojo, then this guy is ultimately powerful in a lot of ways.
Right, totally, yeah. So
it's such a great freaking episode, guys.
It was great. All the gripes that I had about it, I've already stated. We see that Mahito's actual plan was to get more Sukuna fingers.
How many was it? 6 this time, or
I forget the exact number, but also more cursed wombs, which were the things that they encountered at the juvenile detention center.
And at this point, me and DK don't really even know what cursed wombs are. Besides, like, we knew it was a. I don't know what a cursed womb is. I'll be real with you guys.
I'm not gonna cap it all here. I have now seen through the end of the show. So we will cover in the next 4 episodes.
Son of a bitch.
I know what the cursed wombs are. There is a lengthy explanation for what they are.
Okay.
Involving the 3 clans.
Okay, because I have no idea, and I'm like, what are these things? I don't know.
But at least, like, I will say, spoilers ahead for future episodes of this podcast. This episode is where season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen peaks. So, and it is all downhill from here, and not in a good way.
So this should have. Okay, I haven't seen ahead. I just watched episode 21 the other day, so I haven't even finished the season. I think I got 3 more episodes left. I'm not sure, maybe 2 more, but all I saw was a baseball episode, which is next.
Which is fun,
but it's pretty much a filler. Like, if there's a filler, it's a filler.
It's fun, but it pissed me off because it was like, it's the pattern that I talked about in the last couple of episodes. It's like, we do this little thing, we're building this thing, and then we snip the thread.
Right.
We snip the thread. I mean, there's still, right now, the stakes are that Kyoto wants Yuji dead, and because of this Hanami fight, Hanami leaves, and then it's just like, never mind, we're not going to do individual battles. Yeah. We're not going to introduce, is it Okotsu, like the other guy?
The sword guy, right?
No.
Shinji guy?
Okotsu, they keep mentioning him. He's the guy that Todo is obsessed with. Like, oh, he's not. I might be getting his name wrong because I forget. It's been a couple of episodes since he's been introduced, but he is the Shinji of this story.
Right. He has a sword. That's all I know. I've seen a photo, and
he has a sword. He defeated everybody at the last event before he had released Rika, which we will get into. But yeah, I think we should just do Jujutsu Kaisen 0 before we even get into season 2, if we decide to do season 2. Because look, for as much as I've complained about certain plot things in this show with Akutami and stuff like that, what is absolutely apparent is that there is some deep world building.
I'm talking Dungeons and Dragons level here, right?
Yeah, like, you've mentioned you think that he's somebody who played D&D a lot as a kid, because there's just a lot of world building here. And what I feel like this story suffers from is choice paradox, indecision. It's like, I've got so much stuff to play with, and I don't know what to play with at what time necessarily, but also just the pressures that a mangaka has to write and illustrate 22 pages per week. And it's like, oh, like, well, what part of my insane world building story? Like, I basically built this D&D sandbox.
Right.
What part of that am I going to play with this week?
Well, you mentioned off pod earlier that like sometimes when manga artists are like in Shonen Jump, they do polling to see like what arcs are hitting and what arcs aren't.
It's weekly. It's weekly.
Weekly. I had no idea.
There is a poll where things get
That's
ranked
crazy.
every week.
Okay.
And if your rank drops too low, you get canceled, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Dragon Ball famously was ranked very low in the beginning with the peel-off arc because it wasn't that exciting, and it only took off when the Roshi training arc started. But it was under threat of cancellation, possibly. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it never dropped quite that low.
Interesting tidbit though, but go ahead.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like, there might be pressure on an author or pressure from an editor to change the course of a story if they start slipping in the ranks.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Like, I don't know the manga side as much as you do. I do read manga, but I'm not like inherently in that Japanese world of the everything that you know that I do not know. That's why you were the guru. But I'll tell you this right now is that I do feel like sometimes you're right. Like he's making a stew, he's making a stew,
yeah.
But he's got all these ingredients, but maybe it's like putting way too much salt here or way too much paprika here or some cumin here. Like, it's just like there needs to be an equal flow and a balance, some kind of good equal ratio to make the stew work perfectly,
right.
Simmer right.
And sometimes as a storyteller, you just have these moments in your mind. It's like I have the fight with Mahito in my mind.
Right.
I have Todo and Yuji versus Hanami. And you're just like, God, I really want to get to that stuff, but I also in the sandbox I have Momo and Mekamaru and Panda. And I have to get them out of the way. I have to give them a little bit so that we know who they are, so they're not just like, filler people. They have to say stuff. They have to say who they are. They have to say what their philosophy is so that we can get to the other stuff later. And it might create these moments that I'm less fond of, where it feels like there's way too much verbosity or way too much like narrative whiplash.
Yeah, there is a lot of narrative whiplash here, but like, like every time we do feel that, in my opinion, like that's so true, Dan. But I tell you what, man, episode 20 non-standard, episode 19 Sage, and even even episode Black Flash, Sage, Black Flash, and non-standard. This 3-episode arc with the Hanami fight is basically like my favorite peak of the series so far.
It's peak.
I mean, it is 11 out of 10. It is phenomenal, above and beyond anything I could ever hope for or expect, and that makes me want to watch a lot more.
And it really runs on the goodwill that we have towards Todo as a character.
Right.
Because if it was anybody else at Yuji versus Hanami, it could have been boring as shit.
Yeah.
With all the same plot stuff there, Yuji now is able to do Black Flash.
Right.
Like this first year is now fighting a special curse, and the stakes don't feel particularly high. But because Todo is such a great character and we get to see the world through his eyes, it just makes this whole thing, it just glues it together in just the best possible way.
And it's funny because like I think you and I both agreed, like when we saw Todo for the first time, when he beat up Megumi,
we didn't like him.
I was like, this dude's a douchebag. Like, I hope they beat his ass.
You were making fun of like he's like a 35-year-old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we didn't like him. It wasn't
I did not like Todo. Yeah.
It wasn't until he met Yuji that all of a sudden it's like, oh, this character is awesome.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
I think we did. and that's why it's so great, because the turn there, that is a character development that's worthy of the exposition that we had to go through earlier.
Yes.
Now, when we met Todo for the first time, that none of that made sense, right? That was like, this is weird, awkward, out of place.
Yeah.
But maybe Akutami's thought process runs a little different than ours, which makes it more exciting. But
yeah, it also came about after this whole crazy thing where Sukuna fought Megumi and Yuji died literally, and then came back from the dead and made this mysterious pact with Sukuna. And then it's like, never mind, we're going to have a school festival arc now.
Yeah.
Which so one thing I may not have mentioned on this pod before, but that is the reason that I gave up on My Hero Academia was...
I love that show. I'm about to watch the new season.
Nice.
Shut your mouth, Deke. No, just kidding.
I mean, it's like
okay. It's okay.
I watched it to a point and I loved it, but I felt like it just kept resetting to like the let's plan a school festival story.
Right.
And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. Like I'm so bored with these constant resets of the stakes, which sometimes, I mean, I've said before, I think in the last episode, if something works in story, it works. In Hajime no Ippo, there are these amazing filler moments where everybody plays baseball, or they go fishing, or they go on these beach training adventures, or they go on these mountain training adventures and stuff like that. And it's like, those are some of my favorite things in that story.
Right.
I love those moments. And like in My Hero Academia, which this podcast is not about, so sorry for the rant, it's those moments that like completely pull me out of the story.
Right. Well, you know what? Great point. but I love.
He's like cap.
Yeah,
not a good point.
Yeah,
not a good point.
It is a great point, and it makes sense. But this one, I was like, all I know is I'm going to use the rest of this last minute and a half, however long we talk here, to just tell you that this episode was peak JJK. So thank you for this. I love this episode. I love the last 2 episodes, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future here.
I'm going to say really quick, just because I don't know if we got it before, but I'll just quickly summarize the end of the episode. But if we already got it, we can just cut this part out. And then the episode caps off because Mahito has been off screen the whole time.
Right.
And there was a reason for that. Hanami was the distraction so that Mahito could get more Sukuna cursed fingers. And cursed wombs.
Which I don't know what cursed wombs are besides the one episode where Yuji fought a cursed womb earlier that looked like the guy from the Hellboy movie.
Yeah. But maybe we'll find out more in the next 4 episodes.
I hope so. I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited. And let's go forward, you know?
Right. Last point, the Jujutsu stroll. It was just, are you a dog person or a cat person?
Yeah.
Sometimes
dog person.
Oh, yeah? I think it depends on the cat.
Okay.
I grew up around cats that grew up around dogs, so they acted like dogs. And cats that are social and act like dogs are based.
They're cool.
But when I came to LA and everybody has cats that act like cats, like you come over to their house and they just hide under the bed all day, I'm like, dude, cats suck.
Yeah.
Cats suck.
I'm a dog guy, I'm not gonna lie.
Dogs are great. You know what? What kind of person are you? Leave a comment.
Let us know.
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Cat person, dog person.
Either way, we are so thankful you joined us today. Tell us what you think in the comments. Don't spoil it for us. We are JJK noobs. We do not know what's happening in the future, so please don't spoil it. But you can definitely put your comments and your thoughts in there. We appreciate them all. Love us, hate it, we love it. We're just otakus. We're here. We're fans with you guys. So
yeah, thank you for coming with us on this journey through Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. We have reached the peak. And we've got 4 more to go, so we got 4 more episodes for you. Stick around, and maybe we'll do the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie after, and maybe we'll be inspired to launch straight into Season 2, which everyone says is the place where Jujutsu Kaisen becomes Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay. Either way, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time on the NerdyJock Media Podcast, JJK Watch Along Podcast, bro.
Peace.
Peace. Great episode.